Federation is here for good. We have been for over 100 years, and we will be for generations to come. But what does it mean to be here for good? It means that while Golda's family can't be with her these days, they can breathe a little easier knowing she's still enjoying a warm meal. And although Jennifer may be looking for work, her children can still continue their Jewish education, empowering them to become the leaders of tomorrow. Yes, we're here, not just for today, but for good. And when good gets going, it can't be stopped. Because while right now, Sarah is experiencing the wonder of Israel from thousands of miles away, she's establishing lifelong connections with its people. And on the ground in Israel, Hanan is mentoring at-risk youth, ensuring their future will be better than their parents. Thanks to the good we do here, Jews everywhere are thriving. But good doesn't just happen on its own. It grows from Federation resources and partnerships, and by working every day to ensure that our communities are safe, cared for, and flourishing, just as we have for years, just as we will for years to come. Because Federation and the good people who support us are here for good. and we're not going anywhere.
What a crazy year this has been. When we scrambled last year to hold the annual meeting virtually, we never would have imagined that we would have to hold it again virtually this year. It's been a blessing, though, that now we appear to be on the road to a new normal. I'd like to first give a shout out and thank you to some of our partner agencies and congregations who are joining us here tonight. They include, from the Barshop Jewish Community Center, President and CEO Saul Levincius; from Chabad Center for Jewish Life and Learning, Rabbi Chaim Block; from Jewish Family Services, Tally Dolge; from Congregation of Agudasakim, Rabbi Sharon Cohen; from Congregation Road Face Shalom, Rabbi Avram Scheinberg; the spiritual leader of Congregation Shalom, Lisa Goldstein; from Hebrew Free Loan of San Antonio, Executive Director Howard Feinberg and President Michael Robbins; from San Antonio Jewish Senior Services, President and CEO Stacy Schwartz; representing Temple Beth El, President Amy Benedict and Rabbi Emeritus Sam Stahl; the Torah Academy of San Antonio, Board President Yair Greiver and Director of General Studies Jessica Dierich. Thank you all for joining us this evening. The Jewish Federation of San Antonio, as well as the entire San Antonio Jewish community, was challenged this past year to address the many needs that resulted from the pandemic. We will highlight some of those challenges and accomplishments in just a bit. But first, let's take a minute to align on how to use the miracle of the year, Zoom. I imagine by now a lot of us have become all too familiar with the Brady Bunch screen. We'll be using the polling feature this evening to tabulate voting on the business portions of our meeting. To practice this feature, we will post a poll right now that should be appearing on your screen. Please submit your votes and answers, and we'll give you the results in just a second. Okay. Do we have the results? Have I given everybody enough time? There we go. The woolly mammoth is the winner today. All right. So now that we are experts in Zoom polling, we're going to get on to our first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes from last year's meeting. Hopefully everyone should have had access to the meetings, which are posted on our website and included when you registered. I would like to move that the minutes be accepted by acclamation. Please respond to the poll by selecting the for, against, or abstain. We'll give you a few minutes. Not a few minutes. Okay. Don't know if it's been exactly long enough, but do we have the results of our poll? There we go. 98% have approved the minutes. I thank you very much for putting up with our Zoom polling this year. I now have the pleasure of introducing Rabbi Avram Scheinberg from Congregation Road Face Shalom, who will give us the invocation for this evening's meeting.
Hi. A few weeks ago, we read before Shavuos about how the Jewish people encamped by the Mount Sinai, and God describes it there in the Torah as Vayichan Sham Yisrael Neged Ahar, that the Jewish people as one, in the singular, camped at Mount Sinai across from the mountain. One of the things that God loves most about the Jewish people is when we are united as one. To receive the Torah, we had to be united, and to truly fulfill our destiny as the Jewish people, we have to be united. The Jewish Federation of San Antonio unites us all here in San Antonio. This past year, we've had some challenges that they've united us for. And going forward, we are united through the Jewish Federation to build a better Jewish San Antonio. I give a blessing to the Federation that they be able to unite us all to truly tap into the power of the Jewish people, to unite us all, not just for challenges like this past year, but God willing, with God's help, for growth and for positive in this future year, only for happiness and goodness. I'd like to turn the mic over now to the President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of San Antonio, Nami Ichalov.
Thank you, Rabbi Scheinberg. Having the responsibility and opportunity to unite our community is one that we all embrace and pursue with great passion at the Jewish Federation. This has most definitely been a strange, difficult, and extraordinary year. Every time we feel like we're beginning to turn the corner, we're confronted with a new challenge, a new test, or a new seemingly impossible endeavor. The great struggle we face today is the incredible rise of anti-Semitism. It is at times like these that we often feel most alone and without our friends and neighbors at our side. The Baal Shem Tov told a story of a great musician who once visited a foreign city with no one who knew of his talents and wonderful skills. As he began playing on a local street corner, people began to stop to listen. And the crowds grew. The people began to dance with joy to the wonderful and captivating music. But as it so happened, a deaf man walked by and could not see the musician and was not able to hear the music. All this man saw was people dancing in the streets in the middle of the day. Had everyone gone mad, he wondered? What was happening to these people who seemed out of touch with reality? As Jews, we're fortunate to hear the beautiful music that this world has to offer. We gather united to support one another, to be free to express ourselves to the rhythms of the notes. Unfortunately, there are too many bystanders who are deaf and only hear the silence and void of the world in which they live. We should never be pulled away from the music to stop our dancing and celebration of life. It is in this vein that although we live in a world with persecutors, evildoers, haters, and anti-Semites who are all out to drown the music, the Jewish Federation will do everything we can to keep the music playing loudly and with great fervor. Now for a few selected highlights from the many initiatives that have come from the Jewish Federation's department this past year. First and foremost, from our finance department, thank you for being able to develop our COVID protocols and procedures for remote operations. Without this immediate implementation, the Federation would not have been able to continue during this pandemic the way we have. I also want to thank the finance department for a fantastic clean audit with no substantive recommendations. Always a wonderful accomplishment every year. Now for three departments that actually we highlighted in this year's impact report: our JCRC, our HMMSA, and our Life and Legacy departments. First, the JCRC. What can I say besides adding the Jewish to the Community Relations Council was a critical move. We're very appreciative that now we are known, our department is known as the Jewish Community Relations Council, and carry those Jewish values right there in front for everyone to see. I want to thank the JCRC for their instrumental role in promoting the vote by mail initiatives during the pandemic. Without this initiative, many of the seniors in our community who were homebound and unable to go and vote would not have been able to participate. And thank you for that important role. I also want to thank the JCRC for their lead in the promotion of vaccinations. The Jewish community was able to have a disproportionately high rate of vaccinations compared to our local San Antonio community. And that's directly because of the initiatives and the collaborations of our agencies that JCRC participated in. Now for our museum, the Holocaust Memorial Museum of San Antonio. They were able to turn the in-person experience to a complete virtual format. We had over 100,000 online touches for Texas Holocaust Remembrance Week. the last week in January reached over 6,800 participants through the virtual presentations. That's an amazing accomplishment in a year where we couldn't even leave our computer screens. Life and Legacy. Kudos to everybody involved in Life and Legacy. Jewish San Antonio has now secured over 430 gifts committed to 11 partner agencies valued at approximately over $9 million. That equates to over $450,000 a year in the future being infused into our local Jewish organizations. What more can I say? Our development and philanthropy department. Well, they exceeded all expectations set at the onset of the pandemic. The Jewish Federation team was able to secure a campaign that raised over $1.4 million. This enabled us to provide more to our agencies this year, during a year where every dollar made an exponentially greater significant difference. And of course, not to forget that this annual campaign came on the heels of our community crisis campaign, which raised a separate $525,000 that went to 14 different Jewish agencies and congregations. A huge thank you to this committee, who made 7 different disbursements over the last year, from April 6th in 2020 to the last disbursement in April 14th, 2021. Yasher kochachem. YAD, our young adult division. Through our strategic planning process, which you'll hear about in a few minutes from Michael, we also recognized that there's a tremendous opportunity and need for this critical demographic as we plan for our future. Over the last year, it was impossible to bring this group together in person. So the YAD's committee's focus was outreach, engagement, and building connections. However, now that we're coming out of COVID, this group is functioning at full force and is excited to share about a new program that will be coming to San Antonio called the Moshe Pod. It's an innovation and a variation for communities our size from the internationally successful Moshe House organization. Be on the lookout, because lots more will be coming from our YAD team. I also want to take this opportunity to thank our local agency execs, synagogue clergy, and community-wide lay leadership. I joke that this past year has been in 2D, having met most of you in virtual environments, Zoom meetings, and through telephone calls. I cannot tell you how excited I am with the opportunity to have in-person 3D experiences in the coming year. The Jewish Federation's purpose is to ensure the sustainability of a diverse, vibrant, and engaged San Antonio Jewish community to support local, national, and international Jews who need our help. Our commitment to Israel is unwavering, and that will never be diminished, no matter how deafening is the anti-Zionism rhetoric. And last, but by no means least, I want to thank our JFSA board and incredible staff. Although I'm the one who has the opportunity to share these many highlights from the past year, in the words of Sir Isaac Newton, I stand on the shoulders of giants. And these giants happen to play the most wonderful music for our community to dance to. Thank you so much for your time. And now, Michael, back to you.
Thank you, Nami, for your leadership. We would like to take a few minutes to recognize some outstanding members of our community. We will start with the Joel A. Tobin Community Relations Council Award. This award is given annually in recognition of outstanding service to the Community Relations Council of the Jewish Federation of San Antonio and is named in loving memory of Joel A. Tobin, son of Doris and Jimmy Tobin. The first award was given in 1992 to Jonathan Gerwitz, a recent past Federation chair. Last year's award was given to Deb Field. Jimmy will now present this year's award.
It is fitting that Mark would receive the Joel A. Tobin Award named for my son, because Mark has a long history of dedication to helping others. Mark has been an active contributor to both the Jewish community and the greater San Antonio community. His contribution to the Jewish community includes serving on the Holocaust Memorial Museum Commission since 2012, including as a chair from 2016 to 2020. He dedicates his work at the museum to honor his mother, who is a Holocaust survivor. Mark believes the mission of the museum is more urgent and relevant than ever. Mark currently serves on the board of the Jewish Federation of San Antonio and is a member of the CRC. He recently worked with the Castle Hills Police Department to create a Holocaust education program tailored for police training. He was a board member of Temple Beth El for 6 years, from 2010 to 2016, where he also served as chair of the Temple Beth El Library Committee and vice president of Temple Beth El Brotherhood. In the greater community, Mark has been a dedicated volunteer, including organizing building of 2 Habitat of Humanity houses and volunteering at the San Antonio AIDS Foundation during the height of the AIDS epidemic in the 1990s. Mark gets his inspiration from Elie Wiesel, quote, "The opposite of love is not hate, it is indifference." Thank you, Mark, for your exemplary service to our community. It is with great pleasure that I present to you the Joel A. Tobin Award for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy, and congratulations, Mark. The next award we would like to present is the Chair's Award. For this award, the chair of the Jewish Federation, which is me, has the ability to give an award in recognition of lay leaders who have served as an exemplary partner in community work and has demonstrated outstanding community commitment and dedication to the Jewish Federation of San Antonio. In recognition of her outstanding service to the Jewish Federation and really the greater Jewish community, I have selected Gail Alterman to receive this year's Chair's Award. 2 years ago, Gail accepted the charge to lead a community-wide conversation about the potential unification of some of our local Jewish agencies. She put together an impressive committee that spent countless hours talking with community and organization leaders, researching communities that have unified, and delivering a recommendation for how we might move forward. For many reasons, a global pandemic being one of them, the meetings, deliberations, and community conversations that took place did not bring about the unified vision that initiated the process. The idea is not dead, just shelved for a while as we emerge from COVID and figure out our new world. Gail thought her work was done for the moment, but Nami and I had other plans. We reached out to her and asked that she and her committee help in a strategic planning initiative for the Jewish Federation. As a direct result of Gail's leadership and her committee's dedication, the Jewish Federation embarked on a new initiative to carry our agency forward for the next 2 to 4 years, with a solid strategy to lead us out of these COVID times and into a bright new future. Thank you, Gail, for your commitment to Federation and our Jewish community. Now I'd like to take a moment to recognize some of our transitioning board and committee members. Let's begin with Greg Davis. Greg has served on the board, this time since 2016. He is a dedicated Federation leader and has been instrumental in leading our annual campaign. This is a role most people shy away from and would never consider, myself included. But Greg has never hesitated to step up. His standing and lifelong connections in the community have led to our campaign's success, and we hope he won't be gone from Federation's orbit for too long. Thank you, Greg. Next, I'd like to recognize Jeremy Rosen, who joined the board in 2017 straight from our young adult division. He has stayed actively involved even after he stepped off the board this year to allow his lovely wife to come and work for the Federation. Thank you, Jeremy, for your continued service on committees and also for your time on the board. Finally, we want to recognize Winslow Swart, who has served as the chair of the Jewish Community Relations Council since 2019, and in that capacity has been an ex officio member of our board. Winslow has been a strong leader of the JCRC, always putting his Jewish values out front. He has spoken out against many injustices in our community, our state, our country, and the world, and helped to build lasting bridges for our Jewish community here in San Antonio. Thank you, Winslow, for your service. I would now like to invite Harry Levy, Federation's immediate past chair, to present the new officers and directors to the board. Thank you, Harry, for your leadership and guidance of the Governance Committee and for your continued dedication to Federation.
Thank you, Michael. It is my honor. I want to make sure and recognize the committee members by name. And they are Jonathan Gerwitz, Judy Palins, Mark Schnall, Leslie Seelig-Bird, Josh Sutton, and Michael Swanson. And at this time, what I'd like to do is thank our outgoing board members and to officially deinstall you from your responsibilities. And they are Greg Davis, Jeremy Rosen, Winslow Swart. Thank you all for your leadership, participation, and dedication to the service of our San Antonio Jewish community. You've made a definite difference. And now for our slate of officers. You should see on your screen the list of officers proposed for the 21-22 Executive Committee. And they are Board Chair Michael Swanson, Vice Chair for Planning and Allocations Mark Schnall, Vice Chair of Programming Jordana Pazin, Vice Chair of Campaign Lauren Stanley, and Treasurer Joshua Sutton, and Secretary Claudia Stokes. So now you get a chance to play with the poll feature again. We're going to put up poll number 3, which is for your 21-22 Executive Committee. I'll ask that you now vote, and we'll give you about 30 seconds. It's now a 10-second warning. Please, if you haven't yet, please register your vote in the next few seconds. Okay, thank you. And the results are, we have 48 votes in favor and 2 abstentions for basically a unanimous vote. Thank you all very much. Also serving on the Executive Committee as voting, yet ex officio members will be me, Harry Levy, as immediate past chair, and Stanley Alterman as the chair's choice. So the final poll is for our board members. We have 2 board members who have served 2 two-year terms and are proposed for a 3rd two-year term. They are Philip Moss and Stephen Sherman. In addition, we have 3 board members who have served 1 one-year term and are proposed to start a new 2-year term. And they are Jason Miller Goodman, Rochelle Newman, and Varda Ratner. And finally, we have 3 proposed new board members to serve 2-year terms, and they are Laurie Greenberg, Jake Jopling, and James Rosenblatt. You can see them all on your screen. And now we'll bring up poll number 4, and please, as we did before, register your vote. And now a 10-second warning. Please register your vote if you have not yet done so. Thank you all very much. And the results are 46 in favor and 2 abstentions. So again, essentially a unanimous vote. Thank you again for your votes. I also want to take a minute to recognize 3 other individuals who are joining the board in ex officio roles. Mina Lopez will serve as the chair of the Jewish Community Relations Council. Rabbi Chaim Block will join as our clergy representative. And Sherry Braslau will join as co-chair of Women's Philanthropy with our current board member, Rhonda Gorinsky. You should now see on your screen a full listing of the FY22 board. There they are. Thank you all for your dedication to our Jewish Federation of San Antonio and our wider Jewish community. It really does make a difference what you do for our community. Thanks again so much. And now I'll turn our podium back over to our board chair, Michael Swanson.
NAMI did a great job earlier of walking us through the many accomplishments Federation has. NAMI did a great job earlier of walking us through the many accomplishments Federation has had this past year and the world turned upside down. NAMI himself has known nothing else than leading Federation in these tumultuous times. He first joined the Federation staff as the director of the Holocaust Museum, then stepped into the executive director position last summer. He and his staff ably steered our agency through those most difficult days and led the Federation team to exceed our annual campaign from its previous year. Quite the feat in these unprecedented times. On behalf of the Executive Committee and Board, we appreciate all that you and the Federation staff have accomplished during these extraordinary times. I'd also like to recognize the Executive Committee and Board for their engagement and thoughtfulness this past year. I'm grateful for the dialogue, pushback, challenges, and ultimate consensus on many important topics we had to deal with. Shout outs to Jordana Pazin, last year's campaign chair, and Beth Keogh, Federation's development director, for exceeding our campaign goal. Mark Schnall and Joe Patrick for co-chairing and allocating our community crisis campaign. Josh Sutton, Federation's treasurer, and Janet Irwin, Federation's CFO, and the entire Endowment and Trust Committee for undertaking the monumental task of reviewing and documenting each and every fund the Federation holds. Ben Gerwitz for ably chairing our investment committee. Harry Levy, our immediate past president, for heading up the nominations committee and trying to keep me personally in line. Linda Solis and the entire Holocaust Museum staff for their incredible success converting an in-person museum experience to a meaningful and educational virtual one. And as I mentioned earlier, thanks to Winslow Swart, our outgoing JCRC chair, and Lisa Epstein, JCRC director, for their diligent and critical work on behalf of our community. I can't name everyone or we'd be here till the wee hours of the morning, but know that I'm grateful to everyone for their dedication and support of Federation, and especially to all of you, our Federation donors, for your generosity and support. We certainly couldn't do this without you. As we look forward to this coming year, I'm excited and eager to implement our recent strategy planning. We had a very productive session just yesterday with the board to polish up the framework of our near-term 2 to 4 year plan. It's not ready for prime time yet, but I will share some of the key pillars. Engagement and community building. Our aim is to promote and build a diverse and inclusive Jewish community by capitalizing on the strength of our agencies and synagogues through current programming, which we call InReach, and introducing community building initiatives, which is Outreach. Leadership development and capacity building. This is to ensure a strong and sustainable Jewish community through an organized approach to emerging Jewish leadership and professional development. I think all of our organizations, including Federation, struggle to find future leadership, and this is a core strategy that Federation wants to build upon. Jewish community concierge service. Develop and maintain a concise and simplified concierge service to ensure maximum engagement in the community by working closely with all the Jewish agencies, synagogues, and community partners. Resource development and financial sustainability. Can't do it without money. Ensure the sustainability of San Antonio Jewish community by raising, distributing, and providing fiduciary stewardship. And last, facilitate the community conversation. Convene San Antonio Jewish community leaders, facilitate productive and challenging conversations to discuss and address local and global issues that impact our community. I'm hopeful that soon we'll be able to share and socialize our plans with our community partners and agencies, incorporate their feedback, and then formally communicate to our constituents in the broader community. Next year, we'll report out on where did we do great, and where could we have done better, and adjust our plans accordingly. Stay tuned. I'd now like to turn it over to Rabbi Cohen for our concluding benediction.
Thank you for allowing me to join you this evening. The Torah reading for this coming Shabbat, Korach, and the Haftarah, the prophetic portion, studied in conjunction with the Torah reading, outlines beautifully for us the lessons of leadership. In telling the dramatic tale of a rebellion against Moses, the Torah reading reminds us that being a leader requires humility, selflessness, and kindness. It requires a sense of justice and a commitment to doing what is both right and good on behalf of the entire community. In the Haftarah, we see the prophet Samuel following in the tradition of Moses as leader of the people, also acting with humility and compassion as he seeks to provide for the Jewish community of his time. As we learn from the experiences of Moses and Samuel, we know that leadership is never automatic. It demands devotion, commitment, and dedication. It demands time, creativity, open-mindedness, and vision born of insight and inquiry. Tonight, we celebrated the leaders of our Jewish Federation and the dedication and hard work of those who have served as members of the board. They have helped to perpetuate the values of leadership that we see in the Torah and the history of our Jewish people. They have tended to the immediate needs of our wider community, especially during this difficult year of COVID crisis. And they've also planted new seeds for the future. We also express our thanks for the new Federation board members who tonight accept the mantle of leadership upon themselves and who take on the charge to carry our community forward. As we join together, Adonai, we pray that as we celebrate our year's successes and look onward towards the future, we ask that you bless us with wisdom, vigor, and understanding. Sustain those who serve our community and care for its well-being with your Spirit. Help us to lead wisely, armed with the eternal values of our Jewish tradition, guided by the principles of Klal Yisrael, of support for one another, and anchored by the principles and commitment to Gimilut Chasadim, to acts of kindness and caring. Give us the strength and courage to dream, to open our minds to the possibilities that lay ahead for our Federation and the Jewish community of San Antonio as a whole. Help us to appreciate what we have created together as we strive to make this community the best it can be. Amen.
Thanks to all in attendance this evening. Thank you to our outgoing board members for their service, and welcome to our new board members. We are adjourned.